Thank you everyone for coming out this evening and joining us for discussion about community facilities in Cheltenham. The township is in the process of evaluating all of its facilities. As you may or may not have heard, our facilities are aging and are at a point where pretty much every one of them needs major work to continue operating. So we're taking this opportunity to talk to the community, talk to all our staff, and understand what everyone is looking for facilities going on into the future. So we've hired the team of KCBA and ReVision Architecture to help guide us through this process. We have had 2 community meetings so far where each of our community facilities are. This is the 3rd. We are planning a larger community-wide meeting in September, a date to be announced. So there will be more opportunities for discussion and involvement about this. But for tonight, we want to hear from you, the residents, and hear what you like and would like to see in our upcoming facilities projects. So I will turn it over to Eric, Drew, and Jamie to lead the conversation.
Thanks, Allison. I'm going to put up a couple of slides real quick just for introductions, and then I promise I'll take the slides away so we can all see each other again. I know that many of us are on Zoom a lot, and we're looking at a lot of slideshows, and we're here tonight really to talk to each other. So I promise this will just be a couple minutes, and then we'll get on with it. So I'm going to share my screen here. Hopefully it works. All right, can someone give me a thumbs up if my screen showed up? Eric, thank you, you got it. All right. I can only make everyone a little bit bigger on my screen over here so I can see you all while I'm screen sharing. Perfect, there we go. All right, so let me. All right, so yeah, as Allison said, we're here tonight as part of the Township Facilities Study. We'll introduce our firms in a second. Tonight, we're really focused on the Glenside Community Services. And so what we're kind of like putting in this bucket is the pool, the library, Glenside Hall. So we're really talking about all these things together. And when we're thinking about this tonight. Quick introductions to our team here. My name is Drew Levine. I'm with ReVision Architecture. I'm also a Cheltenham Township resident. I've lived here for about 10 years. I've used the Glenside facilities myself. My family has. My kids are, one of them just got out of Glenside Elementary. The other one's still there. So very familiar with this place. Very happy to be here working with my township on this. It brings me a lot of pride as an architect to be able to help my community this way. I'm just real excited to get to know everybody and to help all of us kind of steer towards the future for our township. Eric, you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi, I'm Eric Gianelli, 30-year resident of Cheltenham myself. Raised 2 daughters through the school system, and they're all going to be contributing. My youngest is contributing working with the EMS as part-time as she goes to Salis for a physician assistant program. So to that end, I'm very proud, as Drew noted, to help the community. I am an expert in public facilities like townships, libraries, fire stations, community centers. So this is what I've been doing for the last 30 years, some 30 plus years of my life. So I'm glad that I can bring some of the expertise and my knowledge from many communities around this area back to Cheltenham and help them with their endeavors and help our community with their potential goals. If you don't know our firm's in Hatfield. We're not too far away. We have several Cheltenham employees in our office, along with Abington, Springfield. So we have a lot of flavor in our office from our community, even if they're on the other side of a township line.
Jamie, why don't you give yourself an introduction here to everybody?
Yep. Hi, everyone. My name is Jamie Bortz. I also work for KCBA Architects. I'm a project manager. As you can see on the slide, I'm not a resident of Cheltenham Township, but it's been awesome learning about all the everyone in the community, talking with the other two learning sessions about the wants and needs of those community centers. So I'm anxious to hear what everyone has to say tonight about the Glenside facilities. I've been working on studies with Eric. Most recently we finished up the Abington Township study. So again, I'm excited to hear what everyone has to say tonight.
All right, Eric, you want to give a little intro to KCBA?
Yeah, sure. So we're a local firm. We have 40 professionals in our office, mostly architects, but we have our own structural department. We have our own interior design department, code specialists and land planning type specialists. But in this particular case, we can really focus on the assessment of our facilities in our township. We can look at the planning of what might happen, whether it's the building planning. It's also going to be site strategies and basically how can we make use of what we have and make better use of what we have. We always try to maintain the buildings that we do own, but sometimes when we go through the analysis, sometimes the analysis dictates a different path where we may have to replace something, but we do a thorough investigation of everything before any determination is made. And ultimately the study and the numbers will lead the commissioners to some options to consider. So on this particular project, in our schedule, and Allison touched on this, we're going to be doing a bigger community event. But prior to that, I'm going to be coming down through all the buildings and doing an assessment with them. And we're going to be meeting with the department heads and leaders to get the program, make sure we understand what program they have, what they might need for the next 40 years, and kind of set up a big sheet. And then we're going to see how it fits in their current buildings. And then we'll be able to see, if the pail is overflowing, meaning we don't have enough space, or is there not enough water in that bucket and we have a bigger building than the programming. So I know it's kind of a quirky analogy, but it'll help you understand how if that program does fit in a building or not.
All right, thanks, Eric. Introduction on my company, ReVision Architecture. We're based in Manayunk in Philadelphia. And our company, we really do 4 primary things. We like to think about it, the 4 pillars of our company. The first one is green architecture and planning. So we're a full service architecture firm. We do master planning work. We do studies just like this one. Our real focus is on sustainable design and green building. The second thing that we do is sustainability and building performance services. And so this is work that we do with buildings that's really focused on building performance testing. So we go into buildings and we test air tightness and we look at them. The guy on the screen, he's got a thermal scanner gun. So we look to see how heat is moving through walls or getting lost through walls. We do sustainable certifications. If anyone's ever heard of LEED, that's a building certification for green buildings. This is a part of our work. We do all kinds of different certifications, not just LEED. We also look at sustainable and equitable organizations. That's part of our certifications group. And then the 4th pillar of what we do is exactly what we're doing here tonight, community engagement. It's kind of the roots of ReVision, how we got started, facilitating charrettes. We've done this with groups of 5 people. We've done it with groups of 150 people. We've done it for an hour. We've done it for a week. It's at the root of what we do. We love people, and we recognize that buildings don't do things on their own. We need people to activate them, communities to activate them. And really, it's about you all. It's about people. It's about the community. It doesn't matter how good the building is. So yeah, that's a little bit about us. Ultimately, what we're trying to do is remove barriers to green buildings and sustainable communities. That's what we're all about. So that's a little bit about ReVision. Eric, you want to go through high level what the facility study is going to involve here?
Yeah, thanks, Drew. I kind of touched on this a little bit, but what we're going to do is go into each building and we're going to look at the performance of the building. So is the exterior walls performing? Is the roof, what condition is roof in? We're going to look at the mechanical systems. We know there's a lot of issues. Maybe there's some issues with the mechanical systems we need to take a look at, your electric and your plumbing. We'll also engage your ADA, your security. Security is going to be very important in the future. It is currently, but it's going to be more important in the future. So we want to make sure that the facilities that the township have the ability to be secure, and how can that occur, and how communications will occur in the event that there's an emergency event at these facilities. So once we kind of go through that assessment, we're going to work with the program And then we're going to take a look at how does it fit, right? And if it doesn't fit, where can expansion occur, and or maybe a redo on the inside to make it work. So maybe the exterior walls don't need to change. We just need to change some of the walls on the interior to get the program to fit. It's just an analysis, just a study. And what we're going to do is we're going to meet with the community, and we're going to talk about these ideas, and then ultimately get the community's ideas with these things and see how the community's thinking, what they think their needs are. Once we get through these programs, we're going to ultimately have several options, and we're going to look at these options for the buildings. Now, these are just really conceptual, and then we're going to get that with pricing, and we're going to get that in front of the commissioners, in front of the community, and we'll see really what the study shows. And I think, when you see that, you'll see why decisions are made or conclusions are made, and maybe there's a plan that comes out of that. Maybe there's some renovation, some addition, some new building, or whatever it might be. There'll be a plan and a phasing option for the township to take a look at those, take a look at their facilities and how they can improve for the next 40, 50 years.
Great. So the last slide here is really what we want to talk about tonight. So we really want to focus with you all on thinking about our community services and trying to answer the question of what does good look like, right? We want to answer that, and in doing so, think about the future for our township, because we're at a really critical point here. This is a very significant thing that we're studying, and it's really an opportunity for us to rethink the way that our community services are provided. And so that's why we're here tonight. We're here to hear from you. We want to know from your point of view what good looks like. Everyone should be back in gallery view now. Yes, I'm seeing Allison nod, so I take it that we made it. We made it through the PowerPoint. That's the hardest part of the whole night. So from here on out, it's easy sailing. So that's the good news. So yeah, we want to know from your perspective what good looks like. So there's a lot of people out here. Don't be shy. I know that you want to talk to us. I know that you want to share your feelings about this.
So Drew, I'll go first.
You'll go first.
I'll
Great.
go first. Hey,
Thanks for
so
breaking the ice.
when I was in high school playing in American Legion baseball, the Memorial Hall was where we had our end of the year party. And I've been in there many times, and it was a terrific event. Facilities served our community very well. Even though I played for Roslyn, I don't know where the lines are generated, how I live in one community and play in the other community, but that's beyond my pay grade. But the hall was terrific. It was a terrific part of our experiences in gathering, whether we won or lost at the end of the year, how our community did. We had a great turnout at those things. Back then, we used to get hundreds of people watching these games. So I enjoyed Memorial Hall, and my two daughters went to the swimming pool there, and me, my wife, and my two daughters used the library a lot. So we think at least on the Glenside side, the west side, it was a terrific a terrific experience for our family.
So Eric, let's put a pin in it.
Yeah.
What does good look like for you?
For me, it's just that community aspect where it would be nice if, like, say, our community was closer to the east as well as closer to Lamont. And I think that any endeavor we go to where our communities can get together, to me, would be great. Just me, because when we went to high school, all our communities came together. All the elementary schools, all those middle schools came together, and high school was a terrific experience. I'm not saying that high school is your community center, but to me, that was, in a way, it was how we all came together. I got to meet people I didn't necessarily hang around with. Once I got to high school, my social boundaries expanded, and that was a terrific experience. And it went across the borders to other townships too, even though they were our rivals. We didn't hate them. It was great to compete against them, but it was really nice that we could partner together in other events in the community. So I really enjoyed that experience.
Yeah. I'm glad you brought that up, Eric. And this is something that has come up in the Lamont pop-up, and also in the Roland East Cheltenham pop-up earlier this week. And I hope that we talk about it more tonight too. the idea of getting to know people outside of your neighborhood at the community center. Because, you know, for me as a resident, Eric is used as a parent here with kids, that's such a wonderful, powerful thought about the potential of our community buildings. Kathy, I see you with your hand up.
Get myself off mute here. Hi, everyone. Good evening. How are you? So Kathy Bowers. I live in Glenside. I grew up in Glenside, right off of Keswick Avenue. So I've been there 54 years. With that being said, raised my 3 kids, all that. A lot of people obviously know my backstory. But we're talking about this area, and we're talking about, you know, obviously the pool. You know, we definitely need our pools in our community. You know I have a feel in my own mind where all this is going once we're done, but so, you know, we definitely want to see the pool. Obviously, we'd like to see a newer pool. Concerns with everyone is how are we financing all this? We've had a lot of conversation. That's one of the biggest concerns, because we already know that we're in a financial situation and we have a lot going on. So, you know, to have these good feel meetings is great. So, but with that being said, yes, the pool, you know, one thing with the Veteran Memorial, the War Memorial Building, we don't want to see that demolished. There's some kind of symbolization there, you know, for, you know, veterans. And so there would have to be some kind of, you know, something, you know, looked into how to handle that. I'm not sure how the rest of the community, you know, feels on that. You know, and what your options, obviously, when you're all done your study, you'll give us what your feel and what your take of what the township would like to do with it. But for me, yes, I would like to see it, you know, remain, you know, the way the area is. But obviously, there's a lot of work. We've always talked about our pools and, you know, being done like that. I don't know, I just have a question, because I know you're looking at all our buildings in our townships. Where are you at right now? Like, how many? You have 16 buildings, is that correct? And how many have you went through already?
I personally have gone through 3 of them. I'm trying to schedule my time with Allison next week to kind of hit some of the other ones. I have not really spent much time in the actual township building, but I've been through the police, I've been through EMS, I actually been through Lamont and
Right. I was
Roland.
just curious where, because so we have a long, you know, where do you feel that you'll be done going through all 16 of these buildings? And, you know, we don't want people to lose interest here.
No, I'll be through all the buildings before the end of the month.
Oh,
And
okay.
and we'll be through the programming probably through the first couple
Right.
weeks in September. And then when we get to, we rally back around with the community again, we'll have a bigger idea of how much
What's the
program
time
we have.
frame on? I know you got to put all your reports and look at everything and discuss it. What do you think your time frame on that is?
The final report will be in the commissioner's hands in December before their meeting, well before their meeting.
I'm sorry, what?
We'll have the final report in the commissioner's hands well before the meeting in that month.
Oh, I'm sorry, I missed which month.
I'm sorry, December.
December. Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
Okay. And tonight, like when you're talking about, you know, what we're looking for, are we just talking about the pool area, the War Memorial Building, the library? I mean, the building.
What you might like to see in the community, that would be inclusive of the library, the natatorium, the pool, even the social gathering areas such as the hall, right? So anything beyond that, right? You know, so we're looking for what. You know, what does Glenside, what's a good, or I should say the west side of Cheltenham, what do they like to have in a facility?
Right. Oh,
Yeah, we don't want to necessarily limit it to what's immediately in front of us. I mean, you know, we got the buildings in Glenside, but it can certainly go beyond that. But Kathy, as you were talking, I did, and this is something I'm going to do with everybody tonight, so you guys got to get ready. I heard 3 important things that you brought up that I want to lift up and recognize as things that you said what good looks like. And so you got to tell me if I'm misrepresenting you here, okay?
Sure.
I'm going to do my best.
That's fine. I'm good.
Yeah. And the other thing is, I do want to also point out that, Kathy, I think in the Lamont session, you're the person who brought up, because you were saying you brought your kids over to Lamont, right? For like dance classes.
Absolutely. Just to backtrack, you know, I was unable to attend the the meeting the other night for Roland area for, that area and the village, as well as I was with my children at a Phillies game. So it was a hot day though. Zoom
You're
might have been
excused.
better.
Yeah.
They
But
won.
as well as I utilize, the township in a way. And one reason I really press on people to look around, because I grew up here, is that I really didn't go to the other side of the township at all. I did not go to Roland. I did. And the one reason being is when we were in high school, when we were in school, we did not meet the other side of the township until 9th grade. By that point, you've kind of already developed so there was like this. So I was always glad to see the schools were put together
Mhm.
in the 5th grade, more, diverse,
Yeah,
looking,
yeah.
everywhere. So with that being said, we've utilized all the activities.
Yeah.
Now, Glenside Hall never really had a lot of activities there. A few, they had kiddie camp and dance classes and stuff. So maybe people would like to see a little more on this side, just because it would be easier for the children. It's a very accessible, walkable area.
Yeah.
So as well. So, but I'll go ahead. You were talking about something else.
Yeah. So, but
Okay.
that was actually my first thing that I was going to tag you to, even though you didn't say it tonight, which is the idea that what is good is getting to know others outside of my neighborhood, right? Getting to know people from the other side of the township, through the community centered events. So I think that's really, really important. And so a couple others, I'm glad you brought this one up. We have to talk about it. We have to be fiscally responsible, right? Because with all of us who are here and residents of this township, this affects our futures. It affects property taxes, right? We can't do something that's cavalier here and we all have to pay for it for the next decades. So we have to be fiscally responsible. You brought up a tie to and a celebration of our history. And we know that a lot of these buildings in the township, they've got really strong historical and cultural value. And so we want to make sure that we celebrate that. The other one that you brought up, and I have a feeling we'll talk a lot about it tonight with a bunch of different people, is the pools. And, I do want to come back and hopefully we'll get some point of views from other people about even specific to the pools, what good looks like for pools. So absolutely, we got to have them. I hope that other people can jump in here as we get through and talk about, what makes them good, what makes them meaningful and successful. So
yeah, I feel, with the pool, and I'll just say my final, just because the pool was a big factor. I went to the pool all my life. I just, still not as much now that my kids are grown. But utilize it. Young families, it needs to be appealing to them, because when they appeal to something their kids are going to be happy with, the township's going to look better. And that was one thing I have to, for those who don't know, when that pool was designed, I went to the commissioners and I got petitions and I did everything I could to get a baby pool, because I don't know if anyone remembers what was there before that.
Yeah.
So, and then it became very dangerous. And so I was very happy when that pool was put in. Now it seems like so long ago. My daughter was 7 and I had younger ones below that, and she's now headed to 32. So it's just like how time flies. But with that being said, we've taught, having one great pool, problem is where would we locate it that everybody would have access to? So that's where, because sure, we would love to see one beautiful whole community center, but it's hard to make sure that everybody, but as well I will have to say, and last thing, we're not on Lamont, I feel that is very historical area, with a lot of history that I know some of and not all, more people know. So I feel like that as well, I've been thinking about it after these. So as well is to keep, I think we need to keep that area intact. No tearing down the building, no, is to really work hard on that. And as well as have another, maybe, see what we can do about our other, recreational. We see how they're popping up everywhere. We see the big ones in Upper Dublin. We see them in, in Plymouth Meeting. We see them and then they work. But it's, as well as, figuring out how to do it. So but anyway, I'll let everyone else have their vision. And I hope we all share some of it. And I'm sure I will. Thank you.
Thanks, Kathy. Thank you, Kathy. All right, Emily, you were up next. Tell us what good looks like for you.
Hi, I live in Wyncote. I use the pool almost daily in the summer with my son. So I wrote down some notes. I have some comments. For Glenside Hall, I'd like to see it used again. I know it was, when I was a kid, it was our 8th grade dance was there. It was rented for a friend's birthday party of mine, but that's all been stopped now. So, I mean, I'd like to see Parks and Rec use that in addition to the community centers as a location for classes, and to have it available possibly as a rental again. Sometimes people don't need, you know, it's wonderful what they're doing at Curtis with the rentals, with the caterer, but sometimes people don't need that. They just need a bigger, plainer space to have something that isn't a wedding. For the pool, I want to say it was between 7 and 10 years ago, there was a study done of what needed to be done with the pools, and then nothing happened with that. I know they need maintenance and repair. I would just say that if, you know, as someone who uses the pool every day, a central pool located at the center of the township would be fine. I don't have any idea where that would go. But also the 2 pools is okay. You just need to make sure that you have adequate bathrooms. The bathrooms right now at Glenside Pool are, we make sure we go before we leave the house. The ones at Conklin are a little better. And it would be nice to have lap lanes open all the time, which is not the case at Glenside right now because of the shape of the pool. I know there had been a proposal, you know, whenever that was, like a decade ago, that would have done that and rebuilt 2 separate pools. I'd really like to see in that whole area of the pool and Glenside Hall and the library, the integration of best practices with stormwater management in Renninger Park, behind the pool, you know, de-channelizing that creek, and in that whole area, the return of the Parks and Rec. I know this is probably more of a Parks and Rec issue, but it uses facilities and the camps. The township camps have not been operating the last couple of years for obvious reasons, but they also need adequate facilities to be able to run, and they're a great asset to the township. For the library, I've always been it's been a point of contention in my family. We've been debating this for decades, whether we should have one library like Abington does or individual libraries. For me, even from when I was a kid up through now, I prefer local libraries that children can walk to, people can walk to. So if one library was going to be pursued, I would hope that there would be something investigated for like storefronts to, it wouldn't be a full library, but would allow you to use the computer, pick up books that you've ordered through the online system, some way to get to walk to access to programs available through the library and resources. Nothing's been said about Wyncote proper. I know that, you know, Curtis is obviously in Wyncote, and that building is being maintained, I guess, by the caterer. But one thing that hasn't been addressed yet is pedestrian access to Curtis Arboretum. There is no safe pedestrian access right now, unless you are walking along Washington Lane and coming in the long Curtis Park Road, but that's nowhere near the hall. And so that's something that, you know, it's not the facility itself, but it is access to the facility. And then I would just say that if there is a move to one community center or pool, that something be investigated to explore how to get people that are either too young to drive or too old to be comfortable to drive or don't have a car to get to that one central facility. Because right now you have areas that are walkable. And so if you put something that's centrally located, you're taking that away. And so there needs to be something, whether it's a bus that runs around like the township used to run maybe 20 years ago. They used to run a bus through the township that my grandmother used to use. And now they've gone to the county system for that, but that's only open to seniors and not to children or other people that don't have a car. So I think that's all I have to say.
That's great. So I'm gonna try and name a couple of things here, because there's a lot in what you just gave there, a lot of really good things. So I think that the first one that I'll try and pull out here, to try and put a name on it, is relative to the pools, that we need to make sure that the pools are healthy. Like you're talking about the bathrooms, and I know exactly what you're talking about because I've been there, right? We need to make sure that our spaces are healthy. And I think that we want to make sure that we can provide like integrated activities. So it's not like, because I know the pool moments you're talking about, where it's like you got like 200 kids in the pool, and then the whistle blows and the kids get out, and then the grown-ups have a little bit of grown-up time, right? So it's, making sure that we can have, simultaneous activities going on. So I think that's really important. Another one that you brought up, and this is not the first time it's come up, is very important, is community spaces for events that are not weddings, right? We want to be able to have, the more informal events and have the facilities that support them. Often what's accompanied with this is the ability to have some food service operations, light catering. You need to have a kitchen where you're going to prepare stuff or serve things, right? So that's one. You're after my heart talking about stormwater management. This is something that, a lot of people in our township are aware of. It's a really critical topic, so absolutely. And then the other one that I wanted to bring up, I really appreciate, and I'm going to try and name it this way, is transportation equity. Because I think that this is something that, and specifically you're bringing up walkability, pedestrian access, public transportation, and that what we need to make sure is that, I'm reading in between the lines here, is that we want to make sure that we don't have community facilities that are only accessible by car.
Right. Yes.
Right.
Right.
We want to make sure that no matter where someone is and what their resources are, that they have the ability to use the community facilities, that there's not any roadblocks, no pun intended, in their way to get there.
Right. Yep. That's it.
Great. And I love your storefront pop-ups. I was talking the other day with the team after the last call about that. I could talk all evening about that. I've been chewing on it for a while, so I think that's great, and we can come back to that different day or tonight if everyone wants to. But yeah, so thank you very much. Awesome comments. Yep. Okay, Tom, you have had your hand up, waiting patiently.
Thank you, everybody, for attending. A shout out in particular to Commissioner Rappaport, who we private message in the background, but Commissioner Rappaport has attended all three of these sessions, and it's noticeable, and it illustrates the commitment of leadership to our community. And I just wanted to let everybody know that for me, it was noticeable, and I'm grateful for that. Just a bit of background about me is I have always been in a results-oriented occupation. So I only got paid when results were delivered. I didn't get paid if I didn't produce something. And so my specific interest is on this report that will be generated in December. And I want to know what the details will be of that report. So will you do an assessment of the various properties? Are you going to provide any recommendations? Where there'll be any estimates of how much these things will cost to repair, or perhaps in some cases they will be taken down before new facilities are put up? If you could provide a detail as to what you will be delivering to the township in December.
Sure.
Thank you.
Sure, Tom, that's a terrific question. So when we go through each building, there'll be an Excel sheet, and it's going to have your facility, like say one of the buildings on, say the township building. There we're going to look at, urgent things that need to get repaired, things that could get repaired in say 3 to 5 years, things that are 5 to 10 years, So there's like, priority, almost priority, something that's part of maintenance. And so we'll have that on a sheet. So each building will have what it'll take to get that building renovated, code compliant, security, get the exterior air barriers done and your insulation right. And, there's just a handful of those items. So that each building we're going to look at as they are now. Then we're going to look at how does it fit, and we will develop little concepts for the buildings that, if the program is spilling out of the bucket, we'll look at how we could expand or renovate the rooms so that we can fit that program for the next 40, 50 years. So there'll be a concept with that. We will have options. It won't just be, hey, look, there's an addition off the side. We'll look at there'll be more than one option. And we'll have a price for each of the options that everybody agrees that are the possibilities. So in the end, you'll see a kind of a sheet where it'll have, say, options for the township building, A, B, and C. And then it'll have prices for the renovation, it'll have prices for an addition renovation. And then ultimately there'll be one option that's a full replacement, just so you understand what the value of that is. Because we're not going to necessarily design the option, but we'll have it how it might fit on the site so that hey, look, what's the full replacement cost? What's the minimum cost? Where do we need to be in there? But you'll have those options. And I think that'll allow the commissioners to be educated about what they can do. And where, ultimately the one, I forget who asked, maybe it was Kathy about the budget or who asked about the budget. It's going to be an important part of the decision. I'm sure the township's going to have to really figure out what do they want to do. They don't have a glass slipper, they're going to have to figure what they can afford.
Will you be factoring in, sorry to interrupt, will you be factoring in historical, if any of these buildings have, historical, struggling for the word, but you get what I mean. Will you be factoring in whether they are on the historical register or something along those lines?
Yeah, we'll definitely take a look at that. And I don't have an extensive amount of experience in historical renovations. I did the Reading Terminal Head House and PSFS conversion downtown and stuff. But some of those types of buildings at historical restorations, I'll have to get an independent person to maybe take a look at the pricing on those, because I know you can't just go replace the windows. They have to have a certain profile to match the historical registers. And I've gone through it. The pricing of that, I'll probably have to get a little outside source to make sure my budgets are right.
Will they be, final question, I'm sorry, I asked 2 or 3 here in one hand raising session, but will the historical ones, one or several, will they be prioritized over something that might not be on the historical register?
No, we look at everything equally and we'll have it listed. So we'll be very thorough with it. So no, there will not be a prejudice to it, but everything can be treated equally. Although I was in the EMS building, I know that building's hurting really bad structurally, but so we want to make sure those guys are safe. But we will be very neutral. What we're looking at will be very thorough about what the recommendations will be.
I think that as we think about this study and how it emerges, kind of as Eric's getting at, is that we're going to look at a wide spectrum of solutions. And on one end of that spectrum is we keep every building as it is and what its use is, and we figure out how to renovate it and get it back functioning, right? That's one end of the spectrum. At the other end of the spectrum is what other people have mentioned, which is everything gets consolidated in the campus, right? In between those two poles are a lot of different solutions. And I think that we'll look at a couple different strategies within there that might be a combination of new construction and adaptive reuse of some of the buildings that have significant character and utility to them. And ultimately, and I can say this as a resident of the township, I think what we want to do is find the best solution that's going to be fiscally responsible, that's going to meet the cultural needs of our township and celebrate our culture and our history, address issues of equity within the township, as Emily was bringing up about transportation, right? I think we want to find the best solution, but what I will say is it's unlikely that there is a perfect solution, right? So, just thinking about it, like there's so many different things that are tugging on this in different directions. And the goal of the study is really to kind of hone in on what the best solutions are that capitalize on the best in many different facets of this.
And Tom, to expand on this a little bit more, as a resident, as a taxpayer for 30 years, one of the things I think is important about these buildings is how do we staff them, right? I'm not pushing one agenda or another agenda, but if you had, say, 4 libraries like we have now, you got to staff all 4 of them all at the same time. If there was a central library, maybe there's some book or storefront ones that they're talking about, but think about the staffing. When you look at the cost of a building over 40 years, everybody's thinking how expensive a building is. That's only worth about 10%, 15% of the actual equity that went into the building. It's your labor. You know, it's your maintenance of that building. It's your energy usage of that building. That is 85% of your cost. Sometimes on these concepts we're going to go through, everybody's going to be looking at the construction number. You got to look at it, are we able to make better use of the staff that we have and the resources that we have in our current programs? Because right now they're really stretched, and I think Allison touched on some of that in some of the township meetings. But those facilities guys are stretched. Those buildings are very difficult to maintain, and you know, I know we'd like to see about 8 arms on Al, and he's only got 2. So we need to look at that as well as a part of this, right? We need to look at how we're staffing the building.
So full disclosure, I'm on the Friends of Elkins Park Library Board, and I do believe we have the Central Library Board director on this call with us too. So that's an interesting subject, and I'll cede the floor. I've been talking too much. Thank you so much for
Thanks, Tom.
Yep. Thank you, Tom. Leah, I think your hand was up next.
Yeah, hi, thank you so much. My name is Leah Mulhern. I live in the Elkins Park section of Cheltenham. I have 3 kids that go to school in the district. I'll have kids at 3 schools this year at Wyncote, Elkins Park, and Cedarbrook. Like others have talked about, we spend much of our time in the summer at the pools, and they are, you know, certainly if you want to talk about what's good in Cheltenham, the pools are certainly at the top of my list. However, that being said, you know, I have so many directions I can go, and, you know, hearing other people talk gets my mind going, and, you know, and also challenging some viewpoints that I hold personally, but that does not mean that they are best for the township or everyone. So that's, you know, good to be challenged. I guess that, you know, I have not been to any of these other listening meetings. I haven't been unable to attend them, but I have been to some previous meetings where we started this kind of facilities conversation. And, you know I'm not the only one. I've heard it tonight, and I've heard it in other places that what, you know, some of the good is that, you know, there is the antithesis of that central location. It is all of the different locations. It is the fact that, you know, I can go to this story time at this library this day. Oh, I can head to this program at that library that day. And, you know, what you just said, Eric, I think talking about, you know, oh, if we had a centralized library, imagine like all the savings beyond the building on the staff. And to me, that's like the opposite of what I would like the thought that centralizing means that we would lose so much staff is really, you know, more than a tough pill to swallow for me. It would kind of be heartbreaking to know that librarians and staff at facilities that we know and love and have gotten to know over the years would, you know, we wouldn't have a place for them anymore. And kind of tied into that, I wonder, can a centralized location truly offer the programming that we pre-COVID, you know, are used to? And I don't know if they can. I really am not sure. As I said, you know, when I had, you know, 3 little kids at home, we were hitting up, you know, different libraries for different activities, different pools for different things, this park for that. And that's the beauty of it. I don't want to just go to one place and that's the end all to be all. And the interesting thing is, as small as our township is, I don't know what our current population is, 37-ish thousand, I believe, you know, but we're like long and narrow. If you live in the furthest reach of Glenside out in Custis Woods and you got to go to the Little League field at the other end, that is not a short trek, especially if you're rushing to baseball on a, you know, weekday night. I know that Little League is not a facility we're discussing. My point is that as small as we are, it's not that small. So, you know, the centralized location, again, that conversation of where it is, you know, all of those kinds of things, what's accessible, you know, people do, especially Glenside Pool and all of the libraries on foot and bikes for kids. You know, I would hate to lose that. Yeah, so all of this is the kind of stuff that's, you know, kind of rolling over in my mind. And I totally agree with, I think Emily maybe said it. I read the chat and I lost my train of thought. I didn't mean to do that. Talking about, and I think this was going to happen with Parks and Rec. You know, sometimes people, they don't need a fancy caterer. They don't need to spend, you know, $100 a person. I just need a hall. I need a kitchen and I need a place. And, you know, the school district or the school PTOs and things, we look for spaces all the time. We can't use the district ones because either they don't have what we need or we can't afford it, or we can't have alcohol. I mean, that's plain and simple, you know, so we go to KI. Now that's great. It's still in the community. And it is great that we can all help each other, but that's just a little example of like something that is missing is a community space that is affordable, accessible, you know, parking, all of those kinds of things. And, you know, thinking about where we could go or what we could do, some of it, to me, it all ties into a lot of the stuff is programs and Parks and Rec. And it stinks to say this, but, you know, I know that we are now looking for a Parks and Rec director again, unfortunately. And, you know, but even pre-COVID, we had lost some programs, and I know, you know, we tried different things, but we still weren't quite where we could have been. We were kind of getting there, but it was like a 2 steps forward, 1 step back thing. Obviously COVID, you know, changes all of that. But in one of these facility meetings a few months ago, and I think I shared this then and I'll share it again, is, you know, there was this talk of like, oh, you know, how getting back to the camps, the programs, the kiddie camps, the tennis, all of the different things we used to offer. And, you know, at this point, now that we're going on 3 years or 2.5, 3 full summer seasons of not having our full programming, you know, all those people that knew about that and trusted that and relied on it, their kids are older, they moved on, and we've lost like a whole, you know, segment of the population. And so whatever we do, whatever buildings we're using, whatever we're, you know, moving towards, it's going to be like a relearning for everyone that this is even offered anymore. You know, so that's kind of like, we've noticed it with swim team. We only missed 1 year of swim team, but, you know, numbers went down. It was hard. It doesn't mean it wasn't fun. It doesn't mean the kids didn't have a blast. And, you know, we were excited to have things, you know, normal. But it really does, you know, when you miss year after year of like certain programs, it's not just a matter of throwing them back out there. We really have to like go from the ground up. And I know that it sounds like I'm talking about programs, and I am, but I do think it all directly ties back, because you can't have the program without the facility. So, you know, we've done dance at, you know, Roland, the pools, as I said, and I think, you know, there's so many great things that we have done and we can do in the future. And yes, we need safe, you know, places to do those programs. But I do have concerns with that if we don't really fully think out the ramifications of centralizing things too much. And if I could make one more quick point, sorry, I'm a talker. Emily talked about the meetings that we did about the pools, whenever that was, 7, 8 years ago, whatever that was. And I went to some of those as well. And what was so interesting, you know, I remember being in Curtis Hall and having these presentations from these companies. And one of their things was this big grand, oh, it has a lazy river, it has this. And the majority of the town was like, we don't want that. We kind of just want what we have, a little bit nicer, a little more modernized, but we're not looking for the big fancy thing. And I don't know if we'll find that again, is that, you know, we're not looking for the big fancy. I don't need the Montgomery Township /pet, all those things. Those things are cool. Maybe there is an element of that, but I don't think that we're looking for the latest and grandest thing. We just want, again, safe, clean places, you know, to get together. And I don't need a lazy river and a bar at my pool. I just need a baby pool and a nice pool that's maintained. So anyway, all right, I'm done for real.
I think we do need a bar at the pool. Thank you for your comments. You hit a lot of really good things too. And what I love about this game that we're playing right now is that people are like getting different things, which I think is great. So a couple of things that I just want to lift up that you said. I really like your description, and I'll try and like make it concise here, of having the variety of moving to different buildings in different neighborhoods. And I think that that's part of the experience here that you're getting at of the township, is the ability to do different things in different places with different people. And yep, thumbs up. All right. The second one, I heard one thing that you said here, and I want to push it forward a little bit, which is you said maintain jobs, right? You said it breaks your heart to think about losing jobs. So what I'm hearing is maintain the jobs, and to push that a little bit further would be, I would put out there that if we can create facilities and programs that have successful financial models to them, that maybe we actually even create jobs.
Yeah, that
Right?
would be
So,
awesome. But I only heard,
like,
I was bouncing
yeah,
off there.
yeah.
So.
But like, I think that when we say like what good looks like, I would like to just push that one forward a little bit. Not to, yes, maintain, but also consider, do these things have such fiscal operational value that we can actually create some more jobs? I think that'd be great. You mentioned continuing to offer the depth and diversity of pre-COVID programming, right? And I would say the same thing, and then some, right? Like, let's
100%. We
like,
can do it. We can.
Yeah, right. So like, we get all that stuff back, but let's get facilities that allow us to push a little bit further too, right? I really appreciate that you said community space that is affordable and accessible, right? I think it's two critical pieces there. And then the very last thing you said, I don't want to lose that either, because it's super important. Modernized, but not fancy. And I kind of want to just like put this out there right now. Like, how many people does that resonate with? Can you put your hand up if that resonates with you, that statement, when we think about our township? I'm seeing one.
Maybe I'm the only
Okay.
one.
All right, 1, 2,
All right, I
3,
got Matt
4.
too.
I got 4.
Yeah.
I live here, and I that resonates with me as a resident. I see 2 off screen. Okay, so we got a bunch of people who are feeling good about that statement. I like that statement. I think it's a good reflection of our community, right? We want to have modernized facilities, but we don't want to be ostentatious about it. We don't want it to seem over the top, right? So I think that was great. Thank you for your comments, Leah. Edie, you've been waiting very patiently. Thank you. What do you got for us?
There's a lot to comment on. I heard so many wonderful ideas tonight. I had some notes before. I don't know whether I'm going to be able to follow them or not, because the person who spoke before me said that people start talking and my mind starts going. What I think my overarching goal for all of this is to move us into the future without losing our identity or our past. A lot of people have said, oh, look what Abington has. Oh, look what Springfield has. I don't want to be Abington or Springfield. I want to be Cheltenham. And I want whatever comes out of this to reflect the values and the priorities of Cheltenham. I've been in every building except for the shovel shop and inside the EMS building. But over the 44 years that I've lived here in the 3 centuries that my family has been here, I have been in all of the facilities at one time or another, and have been at, when my daughter was young, programs at Glenside, programs at Roland, in the reading room at Lamott, at the programs of Lamott. So I've been in all the buildings, and as on the facilities committee, I also had a tour of what Roland and what Lamott look like right now. I've seen the boilers in both. I know the challenges that we have. But I think we need to keep in mind that 6 or 7 of the buildings that the township owns are on the National Historic Register. And we have to find some creative way of keeping that history, because it's important to the township. I agree with everything that everyone has said about walkability and accessibility, and how much are our children worth? If it costs us a little more that they can have a walkable library, I've been paying taxes in this township for 44 years. I'm willing to pay a little bit more because I think our children are worth that. I'm going down my list to see if I reflected on everything. I think that from what I've heard in the 3 meetings, I think that what KCBA and ReVision are going to do, what you're going to do, what you look like you're going to do. I think that you want to do that for us. And I'm hoping that you're going to be as creative as possible, and have a lot of steps along the way. Like you said, there's the one side where everything is centralized, and then the other side where things are the status quo. I think that we need to come along in between those two things, but keep Cheltenham the Cheltenham, because when we moved here because of what was here and the values and the priorities of Cheltenham. Okay, and one other thing I want to ask, and I've asked it several times and haven't been able to get an answer. I'm on the facilities committee, and I want to know how the facilities committee works in this process. How the facilities committee fits in this process.
I'll take this one, Drew. We will be working with the facilities when we go to each one of the buildings. So I'm sure Alan will be at each one we go through, and we'll go through the history with Alan. Now we will have a separate meeting with the committee, and to go through, when we go through the buildings, we can come back and sit down and go through our evaluations and see if we're on the same page with the committee, if they're aware of what we saw, and if there's something that we may not have seen that they want to bring to our attention. So we'll work in hand with the facilities committee once we get our assessment done.
I mean, I'm talking about the committee that has township members on it and has community members on it.
Like I said, I would be more than welcome to meet with that committee once I get through our assessment and review what we found with that committee, and make sure we're on the same page about what we saw there, maybe what we didn't see there, or something that you might want to bring to our attention that we may not have known. So I'd welcome, like Drew talked about earlier, I welcome more meetings, the better. Because that way we'll have better continuity about what this study is going to look like.
Yeah, as they've have the opportunity to gather data and put together, we'll have some meetings set up to go over that, get input, see if we're on the right track. You said after this phase, probably after our September public meeting, will be another conversation, and then I'm sure there'll be a few others as we go along to go over the plans and the documents as they're developed.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Edie. I want to bring up a couple of the points that you mentioned again, just to kind of like memorialize these as ideas. I loved your statement, and it's like, I don't know, I feel like if we could use this and just kind of summarize so much, right? Moving us into the future without losing our past. I think that's a really powerful statement. It's great. Finding creative ways to keep our history intact. I appreciate that. I think that one of the things that so many of us enjoy and respect and take pride in about our township is our history. I know, like, I, for one, when I moved out of Philadelphia, one of the things that drew me to the township was the feeling of history here. And, that this wasn't like fleeing the city and moving to the suburbs, right? It felt like I was going to a place that had some soul to it and some character and some history. So I definitely appreciate that one. Walkability and accessibility. And the other one that I want to lift up for everyone, because this did come up on Tuesday by Commissioner Brockington, is valuing the needs of our children. And Commissioner Brockington suggested that we need to have meetings with kids to understand what their values are and what good looks like to them. Absolutely. I think that so much of why we all care so much about this township and why we're in meetings like this is for our children and grandchildren and the community. right? That's why we care so much about it. So thank you very much for your comments.
Thank you.
Juliana, I'm sorry if I mispronounced. I think you might be muted. There we go, connecting to audio.
Oh, I hope it's working. Is it
It's
working?
working. We
Oh,
gotcha.
sorry.
All good.
I just kind of wrote down some points to touch upon things other people said and kind of just agree with some things. I guess I should start by saying that I grew up in Wyncote. And then I grew up to buy my house in Glenside. It wasn't exactly planned that way, but I think like a lot of the residents that were at the Lamont meeting a couple weeks ago, what appealed to me here were the things that I remember being able to do as a kid. So like for me over in this neighborhood, that would be walking to the pool and walking to the library. I think those are great assets when you're looking where you want to settle down. So when you start talking to people about taking the possibility of that walkability away and that accessibility away, it is a bit hard for us that have grown up here and then come back to maybe like even envision that at first, because one of the reasons we probably bought in a specific neighborhood was for that walkability. So anyway, just about the libraries, I just wanted to say that I do like that walkability. So I really do think that storefront type idea is important. If you are going to take away access in one of the communities that a library is currently in, then to like replace it with that storefront access. And then, but from the other side of it, when I was teaching about 10 years ago, so maybe it's different now, I really had to use Abington Library for almost everything. I found that the Cheltenham community libraries didn't have what I needed in terms of bilingual materials with English and Spanish in children's books. And Abington Library had a much bigger children's department with more variety in that way. So I don't know if that's changed now because our community has changed over the years, and I'm hoping they have more of that. But so I do see the value in one larger library in some ways, because you can pool more at once and you can really go there, especially as a teacher, and get to more items. Okay, with the pools, I just wanted to say one thing that's really important with the pools is accessibility. And I really only been to Glenside in recent years, so I'm not sure if Conklin has this, but Glenside doesn't have any type of lift or anything to help someone that's in a wheelchair get in the pool, unless I'm not thinking of it. Somebody just tell me if I'm not remembering correctly, but I think that that's really important, that the pools are accessible. And then in terms of whatever we're going to do with the buildings, I do agree that they don't need to be fancy, but I guess in my mind, if we were to make something new, or even if we were going to make renovations, what I would really love to see is Cheltenham being like this shining example. I don't want to be like the communities around us. I want to be modern and sustainable and like green, which I'm really glad that it seems like you guys are about. I think that we want other people looking at us like, did you see what they did? Like they don't, they are using solar power and geothermal, whatever we can do to be a leading example of like how we're going to go into the future. And then just two quick things I agreed about what on our, people do just need a simple hall to rent that's not fancy. So like a Glenside hall. Over here we have the Knights of Columbus, but it would be cool if it was something that the township owns, so that the township can make some money off of, just a simple hall. And Lamont has that with a little kitchen and everything. So that's important. And then also lastly, the point about the transportation being available, if we do have a centralized thing, is so important. When I'm on the facilities committee, and when I first toured them back in December, that was like the first thing on my mind. Like, okay, if we were going to go centralized, how are we going to get kids there? Maybe if the township could arrange the kids' things to be like after school hours, parents could sign a permission slip that the bus could take them there, or, you know, maybe there's ways we could work with the school district, but access for older people and younger people, or just anyone who doesn't drive, is really important. So that's pretty much it.
Thank you so much for your comments. There was a lot of great things in there. I think that, you know, one of the things that I'm going to build on a little bit, because there's a lot of people that are talking about walkability, and you know, maybe what I'm hearing is maybe that these facilities actually enhance the walkability of communities. The idea of storefronts came up on Tuesday. This is very intriguing to me. I find that a very exciting thing, because storefronts are great for walkability and accessibility to communities. They're also really good for our main streets, right? Because it's, if we can get storefronts where we have an empty storefront, it's just like, that's all around a good thing to do. So I also want to kind of put this one down, because it is very important, is modernize libraries with increased culturally diverse content and services. I'm really glad that you brought that up. I think this is part of opening our doors wide to everybody and making sure that we have the right things there to engage, everybody in our township. And that's really great. And then you're definitely after my heart. You and Emily talking about stormwater, and you're talking about sustainability. I love our bumper stickers, right? And that it names sustainability as part of our township. I love the township survey that came out. I was overjoyed when I opened up the results of that survey and saw sustainability it's not just something that I care about. I was just so happy to see that this was a value that our community holds up so high. So I'm glad you brought that one up. Thank you very much for your comments. Okay, Commissioner Ehrman.
I can't help myself.
You're allowed to play too.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I want to thank everyone for their comments and for attending tonight. I know Eric and Jamie and Drew have a lot of work to do, but you're making it a little easier for them. So that is certainly appreciated. My comment is sort of implicit, has been mentioned implicitly in a lot of the other comments, but one of the things that I like about the space down on Keswick Avenue is that it really is very close to like a campus, right? I mean, from the 100 block of Keswick, you have the sports field, the basketball courts, then you have the pool, Glenside Memorial Hall, a playground, a public art installation, a library, and now you have the Arcadia / McDevitt property, and it's it has it has implicitly all the walkability and the accessibility and all those sorts of things. I just think it's a really neat space in that regard. Should be sort of I think just mentioned. And the other uniqueness of it is its proximity to a downtown commercial space, right? So I think the ideal, we're talking about what's good, is the ability to sort of move from commercial spaces to recreational spaces to residential spaces in an easy manner. And that's one of the things that I personally really love about that area. So I just thought I'd mention that. So thank you, everybody.
Thanks, Matt.
I think that's a really insightful comment about the proximity to retail and residential, and that kind of relationship that all those three things set up. I've definitely done that. I've I've like ridden my bike to the pool and then gone to the 4th of July parade on Houston Road, right?
There you
And so
go.
like, I think that there's that kind of connected experience between the different realms of, you know, personal, public, community. That's a really that's a really cool point. I'm glad you brought it up.
Thank you.
Just a quick time check for everyone. I appreciate everyone hanging in there. I know it's a Thursday night, and I think we're gonna try and, just out of respect for everyone's time, end around 9. So we got another 10 or 12 minutes. So if anyone out there has something that they want to share, please jump in. I know you do.
Hey, Drew, I got another one for you.
Go for it.
Back when we were younger, we used to rent space, or at least I didn't, my parents did. We'd rent space at the fire halls. Now the fire halls have stopped doing that. That makes even a bigger stress on our township to have facilities for people to have functions, whether at Lamont, Roland, or the Memorial Hall. So I just thought, I think when Juliana brought that up, I was just kind of going back. I remember going to on Edge Hill Road in Abington, or some of the other facilities where we used to have, family reunion type parties or community type parties in these facilities. So hopefully one of the Memorial Hall or some of these other places can be restored, and or wherever they might end up. But those kind of spaces are terrific for our township, or in our community.
Absolutely. I'll drop one in. So I know, like, one of my frustrations with being at the pool with my kids is having things to eat there. And it's always like, as soon as anyone hears the ice cream truck, it's like, everyone goes crazy. All the kids go crazy. And I there's something nostalgic about the ice cream truck, but at the same time, I really wish that there was like a better option. And so, I think that integrating, a healthy food component with our public spaces would be great. I'd also really love to see some way to really support farmers market. I know we have like a farmers market over in Elkins Park, but again, like, if we're going to have community facilities, I think being able to piggyback on, the CSAs that are around. I know Farmer John is doing some awesome stuff. So I think that, again, if we can integrate that layer of health and food access into our community spaces, I think that would be awesome.
Yeah. So if I could, I just say no to the ice cream truck. Just it takes a lot.
You are stronger than I am.
We literally, not once this summer, we have bought ice cream, and I would not want some. I don't. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. One thing that I want to add that goes with that was very cool is that this summer, the school district had free lunches for 4 weeks as part of the federal summer food program, and so the food service company, the Glenside Pool and Wall Park were 2 of the community sites outside of schools where people could pick up food. So that kind of, I think, a little bit, Drew, talks about what you're saying. We talk about accessibility, because any kid could go, 0 to 18, doesn't matter where you went to school. I mean, they had daycares that showed up. They're like, you want a lunch? Here's a lunch, because the point was to feed kids. So lifeguards were taking them, like, it was awesome. So I thought that was great. And I don't remember that ever happening in recent memory that I have of like over 10 years of really paying attention. So I think that was pretty cool. Shoot, I went off on that tangent. I guess one little thing that I was thinking about that I didn't mention earlier, in this talk about, the possibility of centralizing is what things are we talking about centralizing? Because something that I personally would not be in favor of would be a centralized location in which my pool, my library, my park, and the police station were all at the same facility. That with a joint like that, is not welcoming to me. We have an extremely diverse community. We have people where the police are not the friendly face, there to help them. The police can be scary, they can be traumatizing, it can be upsetting. So that kind of a situation would hold literally less than appeal to me. So I would like us to be mindful of that, that's not really, it's just not welcoming, to see
Yeah.
to me, to see a police station, oh, and here's the pool and the library, it just doesn't go together.
Yeah, I'm sure that Eric can comment on this with some of the work that he's done, but I just want to let you know, I did record this idea of having a comfortable, I'm calling it a comfortable separation of police from community services. But Eric, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can maybe touch on this one.
Yeah, Leah, I was going to touch back on the idea that I was trying to reduce jobs in Cheltenham. That wasn't it. It was just that they could be maybe focused in maybe if it was a centralized library and all those people came together, the programs could be excellent. And it's not that you're reducing staff, it's just providing more programs. That's all.
I hear that. I didn't mean to throw you under the bus on that. And I
got tracks on my wall. You see that?
Yeah, but the right thing came out of it, because now we're actually saying maybe we can create jobs.
Absolutely.
Yes,
absolutely.
It's all good.
I agree. So getting to the police, in the event that for some reason the police was engaged with this centralizing idea, we wouldn't put it out there in the front side of the building. Nobody wants to go to the police station, and nobody wants to see anybody coming in and out of the police station per se. So we would definitely look at if it was to be on the same campus, we would try to set it up so that the building could shield that component. You don't necessarily see it. We wouldn't let it, like right now, there's no sally port in that police station. Should they have somebody detained, they're going to be exposed to the public. And it's not, maybe the person that's in the vehicle is somebody that we know, and they want some privacy to deal with whatever they got to deal with, and or safety of the community. We don't want somebody to get away. So look, when we do these stations, we set them up so that the police team can have its security safely and safe the community and keep privacy to some of the people that may be going in and out of there. They may not want to be seen. So we try to set that up. But the police are friends to us. I always like them. I like to talk with them. I like to joke with them. Whatever about the Phillies or the Eagles or whatever's going on. But the police aren't going to be the enemy here or be feared. But if they're on the same campus, we try to set the building up so it complements the campus, but not. I wouldn't make it something that was a beacon, the community center or the township facility or the library. If any of that goes,
yeah. If I could push back, I appreciate that, and if I could push back just a little bit, because I heard you talking about the privacy of someone who might be detained, or someone getting a weapon, I think you mentioned, but those are not my concerns. My concerns are the people that do live in our community, that the police, they don't joke with the police about the Phillies. They don't want to, they have no interest. That would not be, I'll call it out. Like we are not a community of white people. We are an extremely diverse community with a lot of Black and brown folks. I myself, I don't want to pal around with the police when I'm at the pool. I'm just being very transparent and honest about that. So it is, I appreciate that is, kind of back in the background, but I do want to be clear what my rationale was for that. And it wasn't about the privacy of someone being detained. I'm concerned that someone will be detained or will have a situation that could be avoided otherwise.
I hear you there. I played softball with many of the people that were in the police force. It doesn't matter what their ethnicity is. I play with everybody, and we have, they're just like my neighbor. And whether or not they are, I treat them the same. So that's how I look at them. To me, they're one of us, and they need to be, they got to be, friendly just like us. And I think everybody I've been a part of in Cheltenham Police Department have been excellent. But maybe I haven't heard all the bad stories. To me, everything seems to have worked out in our community. It's one of the things I love about our community, that I don't see our community on the news. And there's a reason. I think at least I thought everybody in our community is doing a great job. They're getting along, and we don't have the issues that unfortunately are going on in other areas outside of our state or outside of our area. Like I said, I've been here for 30 years. I came here for a reason.
Kathy, you have your hand up.
I do. So two things real quick. We were starting to talk about the township, before we end here, I invite everybody, and I know you've heard some of my concerns about money, this, that, and this has been, these meetings are not my first go around on what we want to do at the township. Been here 55 years. So I invite everybody to join and see why, I was at a public safety meeting last night. I was at Commissioner Rappaport. I'm not sure the title of the meeting that you were chairing, but very good meeting. But what my concerns are, you need to see what else is going on with the township, not just our facilities. Just enlighten, just quickly finding out, we have to start thinking about paying our firefighters. They're not, and as well as, I'm going to breathe in reference to our Cheltenham police here. I invite everyone, if you're not aware, to go to Cones with Cop. They have 2 more, I believe. Please look on the township calendar. Our Cheltenham police are there to help us. They're wonderful. They've done wonderful things. They've rescued my daughter, run out of gas, pushed her car out of the middle of the road. She was terrified. She should have got gas, but so they live in our community, they're around, but please, for those who have concerns with that, we just heard, please go meet them. We have a new police chief. They're here, they are very good as well. And they know we are in a diverse, neighborhood, and that is good. And that's why we love it. And, but I definitely, just real quick is, with the walkable and everything, but my concerns is, please, those who are coming to these meetings, please come to the other committee meetings. You'll get a better rounded idea of what's happening. And, we can't just say we want, because I really believe that our parks and recs, from what I'm gathering, is not going to be our top priority here. I could be wrong. We're going to have a balance, but you have people workplaces, EMS, you were saying, buildings falling down. You all can see on Old York Road, our buildings falling down, the steps are gone. So, I just don't want people to be a little blindsided with these feel-good meetings. So I'm very open and very transparent about that type of stuff. So, yes, I want to see, I loved growing up here, small community. I'm still here. My kids are here. My daughter bought a house here. I don't want to do what everybody else is doing and getting up and moving because it is a nice area. But please, for those, please join the other meetings. You have a better idea. This comes up as well. You can talk about this as well in those meetings. So, and please join the Cone with the Cops, because I feel like there's might be some trauma there. So let's pull together. Thank you.
Hey, Kathy, I'm glad that you brought up this point about, having gone around this discussion before. And the one thing that I want to say, and I'm going to lift up Allison on this one and maybe put her on the spot for a second, because she's done an awesome job in some of the other meetings in talking about, the importance of having a plan in terms of leveraging that for some external funding. And what I just want to say is along these lines, I think would be really compelling here is not just to have a plan, but to have a plan that's really been informed by the community and has been engaged with by the community, and not just a plan. So I think that that's an opportunity to say, our township has a vision, our community has been part of the crafting of this vision and the plan, because I think that just is a much more compelling case and a powerful document. So
thanks, Drew. Yeah,
Thank you.
I think finances are a really important part of this project. How do we continue to provide services to our residents while also making sure that our buildings are safe and healthy? But at the same time, I don't want to limit community input and thought, because I think there are a lot of creative things we can do. So that's why we're reaching out to the community to find out hey, if we had, what does everyone really want to see in their facilities? So, and let's see if we can finagle a lot of things. There's so many things that we can do if all the pieces fall into place. So I think that's our job at the end of the day, is taking all the comments and the input that we've heard from the communities and will continue to hear, and trying to find a way to make it work. I don't know that we can do really fancy, but it doesn't sound like I'm hearing the community wants really fancy, and that's amazing. But we can provide, I think, something very modern and accessible and a vast improvement on what we have. And I think this is a really exciting time, and I'd like to take advantage of that and move forward and see what we can create for the betterment of the future of Cheltenham. Kathy, do you have another comment, or are you?
Oh, no, I'm sorry. I'll put my hand down,
Oh,
but
no,
thank
that's
you.
okay.
No, thank you. I appreciate appreciate everything, and look forward to, seeing what the reports have to say, see what we can do. We definitely live in a cute little town. I want to remain it a cute, but it's quaint, whatever, and as well as, I'm hoping that Arcadia, I think they're willing to be part of this. And as much as everybody doesn't like that wah rolling in there, eventually we'll get used to it. It will come blend in. But I think we could start maybe getting on them to help us with our business districts as well. They want to be, part of it. I think up in the Glenside area, as more as we talk about this, is to see it turn into I would like to see it turn into more of not to say a college town, but Arcadia is a nice school. I don't think we're going to turn into a temple area or a town, which temples go, but I know that's what people are fearing. So I hope there's some things that we could think about that tying a little more into it as well, because I think we could utilize the resources. So I think, which is good. We need to tap in all the resources we can get, but I appreciate it. Thank you very much, everyone, for listening.
Yeah, Kathy, I think Arcadia is almost a version of like your sinus. They have a nice little cute little town with some restaurants outside there, and it's walkable for the students. I think Glenside does a very nice thing for Arcadia as well. And then sure enough, hopefully Arcadia is feeding back into the program of our community.
They do. I don't know, I hear they do. I think that, they have done some stuff. Our definitely, we've seen some over the years. I've seen a lot more ever since Arcadia took over from Beaver, aesthetically, the streets, the changing, they've been part of that. So, but hopefully in the future, just keep maintaining it, because they, as well, as we can get them to be part of it, and they have more kids attract here, and, graduate students. And, I don't hear of a lot of student, and I could be wrong, like activity problems, parties, in the area, but, it's not, my kids are getting older, so I'm not out there as much. But
Yeah.
Hopefully we'll take advantage of that.
All right. Thank you, everybody, for being here, for your candor and in the conversation, your generosity here. I'm very excited to see familiar faces from other meetings and people who I've engaged with over the years. I'm really happy to see the community coming out to these, and I look forward to hopefully seeing you all at the event in September. So thank you, everybody, and hope to see more of you.
Thanks, everyone.
Yeah, thank you, everyone. We'll be sending information out about our September meeting. And if you're looking for more information about this process, we have a page on our website under Hot Topics, and this Cheltenham facilities or something of that nature. So keep an eye out there, and we'll get information out on social media as well. Thank you. Have a great night.
Thanks, everybody. Good night.
Thanks, everybody. Over and out.